Hi everyone. I've been playing a lot lately with these Inktense Dye Sticks. Once you've added water to them, they set so that you can then wash it and the colour won't come out. That's what makes it perfect for fabric painting. So I have this habit of always having an experimental piece of fabric on hand, and I pick up any leftover dyes or paints and I end up with something, and then in this case I turn that into a really nice landscape that I'll use later on for stitching as a background. I'll show you how very soon, but this is what I wanted to show you. Well, maybe it's like that. This is the scrap I had. So I was doing this after every time that I had that, the dye down, and I wanted to clean it up, and it would add something. And then at the end, I looked at it, and I thought, oh, I can see a sort of, how you see things in clouds. And so I did this. And I just went with a vague, a bit of blue for suggesting that's the sky. Look at that, we've got a bit of a field in the front. We've got these nice sloping hills. These ones are a bit more in shadow. There's loads of things I could do to that. And this is on the linen, remember? So if I wanted to, I could do something. I could use it in little pieces. I don't need to use it like this. But I love these loose weaves, and I like doing this. So you can have things underneath, or you can maybe do grasses or something like that. I might decide I want a whole lot of something showing underneath, and I'll do a really big bit like that. Can't see it, can we? But if I put something underneath it, like this yellow, for example, it shows up. Maybe some pink. But you see, we're getting flashes of colour through it, building what we want to. So we could have things on top, we could have things underneath, we can stitch it, we can just use it as it is. But I quite like it, and I think that I will. It's very much like a painting, isn't it? And this, you can use this like watercolours. I find it a lot of fun. I'll just grab something else to show you. I'm just going to try a different colour to see if it shows up better. See what I mean? Manipulating fabric with its loose like that. I love it. But let's get on with showing you how to use the Inktense blocks to produce what looks like a watercolor fabric landscape ready for more stitching. I'll just show you how I would do one of these. Last time I did it on some loose weave linen, and this time I'm going to use a calico or headcloth. But first I'm wanting to wet it, and then I'm going to place it down on my plastic here so I don't get dye on my desk. If you didn't have Inktense blocks, you could also use watered down fabric paint. Alright, I want a sky, so I'll pop in something like that. Using the side of it. Maybe I don't want it quite so bright. This is a very cheap brush, a nylon brush, so that I don't really have to worry. And normally I wouldn't do this kind of action with a brush, not one that I cared about. I would keep it going like that instead. But can you see, we've already got a pretty sky there. Now let's say we wanted something in the distance, something a little more purple. See how I'm using the side of it? Just something like that, I think. and I'm just letting it dictate to me what it wants to do. Oh, that's pretty. Some purpley hills. Oh, what else? So using that side, if I want something more specific, I could go and use the end, you see. And then I could just dab and it would stay like that. But if I wanted to have it, you know, smudged in, I could do that. It's a wonderful thing to play with, but it doesn't need to be complicated. Maybe a little bit of grass like that. Maybe a little bit darker in the foreground. Maybe a lighter green on that. See, the colours can be mixed once they're on, can't they? I'll do some brown. If I don't like it, I can just add something else, you know, it's not that big a deal. There, some bands of colour, we'll just leave it at that for now. So do you see what I mean? We've got something. If I wanted to suggest, I don't know, a pretty field of flowers or something, I might go like dot dot dot. Not trying to draw every individual. I'm just getting a suggestion, you know, so later I could come along and I could do something else there, embroider some French knots or something, and it's already looking a little bit suggestive of that. I'm just going to do a few more. I quite like these little. Let's try something else that's a bit. I mean, it's already wet from the really wet fabric. What else could we want? Doesn't really matter. I see, the thing is, I start something like this and I've got no idea, so it turns in different directions. Not necessarily ones I want sometimes, but I don't care. It's all right. I don't know what colour you would be. Purple, maybe. Oh, yes. We shaded in some areas there. Leave that bit like that. And maybe this hill's a little bit more colourful. Maybe I'll do something. That will be more solid there. And here it's more see-through because there's more water through it. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. I also would think, you know, if I wanted to do something later, like grasses or something, could I do that, you know? In the foreground. And this time I'm just very lightly using the point. Changing directions all the time. Now imagine if we had something else that was then stitched on top of that. That would look pretty, wouldn't it? So that kind of thing. Oh, that's looking like a different hill. I'm just going to put some more. Make these more like they are hills rolling in the distance. So I can ignore these things later if I want, or turn them into what I would like. But that's a great start. And that shows you how you do it. And it's not going to be that light when we're finished. It's just going to be a suggestion. Look at those colours there. And this is what I like. Picking something up with that. and seeing what it does on a rag. See, that's quite an interesting mark, isn't it? Now, after it's dry, it's much lighter. Can you see? Does it look a little bit like a watercolour? Oh, and look at that. That's where we just did the dab with the water. We didn't try and spread it around with our brush or anything. And the same with those lines there that are going to be the background of some grasses, maybe. I think that it's certainly worth experimenting with. And I think I'll do some stitching on this just to show what I'm talking about, because like I say, it's a suggestion. You don't need to pressure yourself to make it perfect. You're just trying to block in some colour. It's always best not to have a plain white background. So what you've done is make your own. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I think we'll do some stitching next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you have enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time. There's also a link provided if you would like to leave a donation.